Here's my buddy Bill. Bill's going to help walk us through a laryngoscopy. He's a half head. There you go. Anyways, what we're going to do with the flexible laryngoscopy is we're going to go through the anesthetized nose, and when the camera gets back to what's called the nasopharynx, the pharynx being this vertical tube here, it's going to turn 90 degrees and look downhill. So, nasal cavity, nasopharynx, that's where your adenoids were before your doc took them out. This is the oral cavity, so we call this segment the oropharynx, and the bottom we call the hypo, or below, the hypopharynx. There'll be some anatomy in there we want to pay attention to, but in the end, we're of course going for the vocal cords, and they are down here, Bill's Adam's apple. They are connected just below that. So on me, just below this line here, that's where my vocal cords are. We will see the epiglottis. And the epiglottis is a floppy piece of cartilage like your ear, and when you swallow, it flips over and it just passively flips back up. Next, we zoom in a little bit closer, and we get a closer view of the voice box. And in this view, the V-shaped structure are the vocal cords. On the outside, they're attached just below the bump of the Adam's apple. So this spot corresponds with the point of the V. And because we're looking from above, the front of the voice box is at the bottom of the picture, the back is at the top, and it's inverted on the screen. The right shoulder is going to be on the left side of the picture. That makes this white line the right vocal cord and this one the left vocal cord. These are called the true vocal cords. That's where we get sound from. These are called the false vocal cords. And we can speak with them. If we squeeze everything tight, they will vibrate at a very low pitch, but we don't usually use it. There are two bumps here on either side. These are called the arytenoids. They are not vocal nodules, but I swear every singer asks me if they are. We zoom in on the vocal cords, and I tend to watch them for a little bit while someone breathes because there should be some movement with breathing. It should be symmetric. We can compare one side to the other. And then I will have the person make a sound. And with that sound, we'll end up watching the vocal cords come together. That process is called abduction or opening and adduction or closing. And we bring them together to cough, to speak, and when we swallow, to close off. So basically the vocal cords are a valve. If we look carefully, we can often see below the vocal cords down several rings of the windpipe towards the lungs. If we put the camera in and not just look at the vocal cords from above, but we slide down very close to them, we can then angle the camera to look along the vocal cords. And what that view gives us is it lets us see into what's called the ventricle. And that's like a cave between the true and the false cords. And at the front of it, there's a little gland called the saccule. And we can look at that as well. So by getting close, we get some detail. And we can see underneath the cords, that is the subglottis. And we can see the muscle of the vocal cord called the thyroarytenoid. We can see it in the vocal cord, but we can also see its thickness below the vocal cord. So those are the structures that I look at. If we're going to do a really, truly detailed laryngeal exam or laryngoscopy, and we have the equipment, we might turn on what's called a strobe light and perform a stroboscopy. The videotape is recording at 30 frames a second. And when I'm talking to you here, my vocal cords are vibrating 100 times a second, so the video can't possibly record it, and all you see is blurring. But if we take a strobe light, turn it on, match my pitch, set it off from the pitch just slightly, just like the helicopter blades we see spinning in the sky, they look like they're moving, we can see apparent motion of the vocal cords. We will look for symmetry and suppleness of the vibratory wave. We will look to see how well the person completely closes them, how much time they spend closed, and some other details of the vocal cords.